IPMNation.com.
Live from the Outpost Studios in Columbus, Ohio, you're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. Brought to you by IPMNation.com. Get ready for the gong heard round the world.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All-Natural Being. Warning, All-Natural Being with Brian Brawdy is designed to shake your sense of self to the core.
It's full contact psychology with an empowering twist, a philosophical loofah for your soul.
For those of you not ready or comfortable releasing your inner superhuman, listener discretion is advised.
Here's your host,
Brian Brawdy.
Well. Would have been nice if the gong went off, I would think. Good evening. Welcome. Oh, boy, it's been a 24 hours. Thank you for stopping by the number one rated show here on IPMNation.com. Episode 284 of The Gong Heard Round the World. That is, if I remember to turn that microphone, of The Gong Heard Round the World. You're in to All Natural Being. Broadcast as it happens here on IPMNation.com, as I said, and now simulcast on Facebook and YouTube for Fly on the Wall video, thanks to the good folks at Wirecast. Live from the Outpost Studios here in Columbus, Ohio, with rebroadcast on iTunes and iHeartRadio. Greetings wherever you are here in the Garden of the Mortals. Top of the day from the truest parts of your mind. And I'm fired up because life, it's your labyrinth, your shot at running the table. That's why we're always putting your heart's highest priority top of the list, placing your primal scream, your wild at the core, front and center in your life. We're reinstalling and reinstating the true wit and wisdom of your inner whisper. We believe it's time to reboot your robust, to find your ferocious, to out-brutal the brutal that is the cut and shuffle that fate deals you on a daily basis, and to bring your own bold once and for all. But before we hit it this evening, hello to my friends here in the United States and Canada, Mexico, the UK, my good friends in Ecuador, China, the Philippines, Brazil, India, Australia, Germany, Italy, France, Nigeria, Turkey, Japan, Singapore, Thailand, Belgium, welcome, Sweden, Israel, South Africa, Egypt, Puerto Rico, Kenya, the Netherlands, Colombia, Greece, Ireland, Peru, Poland. Welcome to those joining us from all over the globe. It's great to have you with us, and I truly am fired up to be driving your bandwagon, to be your biggest fan, to be avidly you. But let me ask you, are you tired of being institutionalized by the intentions of others, convicted by the constructs of another, remanded to a prison of rhetoric, yourself or another? I was too, and that's why I decided it's time to mortal up. So what are we waiting for? What do you say? Let's go kick in some doors. And right off the bat, I want to say thank you for everyone that helped me, that was involved last evening, and then most certainly in the thread, and then most certainly here today, when we announced what we were going to be doing in terms of the 24-hour show coming up over Labor Day and our pitch to go for the world record. Let me make sure I got the volume turned down here. Our pitch to go for the world record here later this year. And we've got a lot of great suggestions from different people from all over that say, oh, you should do this, you should do that. And you may have noticed we got some other, let me do this real quick. You may have noticed we've got some other folks joining us from countries all over the world. And I love Henry Noel's idea. Henry said last evening, what we need to do is see if we can get every country in the world. We're going to big map put up here in one of the 3 studios that we're building out for our attempt. And we get a huge map of the world, and we put a flag for every country that calls in over that period. So we're really excited about that as well, and I thank my good friend Henry for making that suggestion. Let me get to the thread real quick. Brother Wallman, hello? You're echoing. Okay, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Let me go over here and see what that could be all about. Thank you. Oh, there you go. You know, I was just commenting earlier, too, that I'm like, oh, you know what? I really love this idea of just being able to jump in right off the bat. You know, you got 5 minutes. You go, okay, I've written what I'm going to write. You're absolutely right. There's that extra one. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You come down here and you go, oh, yeah, this is a piece of cake. I'll just jump in. Good practice for what we say. Good practice for coming up. So I hope that has taken care of the echo. You know, no, it's not them. It's me. User error on my part. You go and you say, okay, great. When you pick the number one microphone to override it all, but then you have to go in and individually kill the audio from all the other cameras. So, Brother Wallman, thank you very much for reminding me or letting me know about the echo. Would you please, working on it, the echo, thank you very much. Please let me, it's fixed, it says. Thank you. Good evening to Janile. Janile, thank you for joining us. Rita, good evening to you as well, my dear. I hope all is well. Thank you for joining us here. And Wayne, let me say, Wayne, so much. A huge thank you. Wayne has been tremendously instrumental. Wayne is the cause and the brilliance behind our soon-to-be launched app, the All Natural Being app, where you'll be able to get the show right on your phone, live in this app. Well, Wayne is the brilliance behind putting that all together, and we hope to have an announcement about that next week. So, Wayne, hello, and thank you for everything that you've done to stay on top of this and to pull it off for us. I really appreciate it. Also, good evening to Loretta, to Lee. Hello, as always. Or he could introduce a baseball team. I got to get back to that. Let me see what we can do. John, good evening. Hello to you as well. Sue, it's fine now. Thank you, my friend, very much. It's just user error, just me. It's not the equipment, not the, and thank you. I super appreciate it. Love, peace, and the deepest connections to everyone. John, thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. Henry, good evening, brother. Nice to see you. Thank you so very much for joining us. And Loretta and Marcus, thank you so very much for joining us here on All Natural Being. So just to catch you up quickly, last night we said we'll be doing our 24-hour pitch here later over Labor Day, a 24-hour radio broadcast, a live call-in radio broadcast, and we'll be doing that over Labor Day this weekend, and it's going to be the ramp-up. It's going to be the run-up for our big pitch, our big attempt at the world record, which we're calling 81, the hashtag 81 to win. And it'll be, it's 80 hours and 5 minutes is the record for the longest live radio call-in talk show. And, of course, as I mentioned yesterday, because, I did a little thing that I could, and I said, I'd like to be able to come by. Marcus, thank you very much, brother. I appreciate that. Your avatar is looking great as well. Thank you very much. Nice to see your smile pop up in the feed. So what we'll be doing is we're going to go after, thanks to my good friends, that Kumbaya was good for everyone else at a local radio station, but not good for me. So when they decided, Brian, there's so much you don't know about radio. We can't even take the risk of having you be a volunteer janitor in the parking lot. We can't even have you run the risk of you raking leaves later this fall or shoveling snow this winter to even be able to teach you anything about a board and this and that. So we're just not going to return your email. So I thought, okay, great. Then what's the best way to go about getting them back for refusing to, just kind of show me, show me some of the skeletons in the closets, how the ropes lay, that kind of thing. The best way to do that was, of course, as you would, go after the world's record for the longest uninterrupted call-in radio talk show. So we're going to be doing that later this year, December of this year. So what we're doing right now is the 24-hour marathon at the end of this month is an attempt to just, like a shakedown cruise, a chance to get in and see what's going on. So we're going to be trying that to see what it takes. And so I really want to thank again everyone who gave me the great ideas and sent me the text messages today and all the different people that I've spoken with. Oh, did you think about this? Did you think about that? No. Well, I didn't, but I love those ideas. So please keep them coming. Also, I wanted to let you know, as I said this morning in a piece, that this is one half of, right? I say all the time, you can't spell Brian without the I in insane. The second part of my plan is, for about a year now, I've had this concept ricocheting around in my mind called Squeegee TV, squeegee.tv, meaning basically if you could just squeegee away your perception of yourself, if you could expose your all-natural being, you're wild at the core. What is it, Aldous Huxley, that said that if the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to us as it is, infinite. So Squeegee TV was my attempt to go, if we could just squeegee away some of the opaque blocking us from who we truly are. If we could squeegee some of that away, we'd be, you know what I mean? We'd be in a pretty good way. We'd be able to expose our all-natural being. So I looked at Katzenberg, from the bigwig out in Los Angeles. Katzenberg was coming up with this idea where he was going to stream TV right to your phone. But what he wanted to do, he called it initially New TV. What he wanted to do in this New TV was 10-minute little episodes that you could watch in between. And some people said, is it like snackable? Is it like, is it short segment TV? And what I said in the pitch, in the run-up to this, is that no, it's not streaming entertainment. It's grit to go. So what we're going to be doing is throwing our name in the ring to provide content to this new Katzenberg startup, this new TV platform that's going to come right to the phone. And then what we'll be doing is a part of that at Squeegee TV is saying great. And that's why I'm so thankful for all the help Wayne Noel gave us in the last couple of weeks, all the things he's doing, because you're going to be able to watch this live right here on your phone. Whether you have the app or if you say, no, but I'll have the app for Squeegee TV, you'll be able to watch this programming. And the way it's been written, the way that I was thinking about it, is that if you're getting ready, let me say hello quickly to Jeremy. Nice to see you, brother. Thank you for joining us here at All Natural Being. John says, get in touch with me later about helping with the segment for the 81 to win. And John, thank you very much. I most certainly will. I would love it if you would be one of the pacers, one of the people that would call in. So thank you very much for that. Also, don't forget, if you want to call in the show, it is toll-free, 833-GO-BU, which, of course, is 833-462-3968. Can't sleep. Great to see you're on. Jeremy, thank you very much. Thank you so much for joining us here on All Natural Being. I'm sorry you can't sleep, but it's great to know that you're okay and that you're with us. So we're talking, Jeremy, about what we're going to do for the Guinness World Record run-up for the longest radio broadcast, but also entering into this new thing because, the report was out today that Katzenberg raised $1 billion, over $1 billion in the last year, because he thinks this short-form TV, as I call it, grit to go, is going to take off, where people will be able to, there's pretty high-end production value in some of it, but some of it will be, and this is why we're throwing our hat into the ring, some of it is going to be, if you've got 10 minutes and you're in a situation where you could use some grit to go, that we'll be able to provide programming. Say you're going into a big business meeting, or you're just, you're on a bus heading to a sporting event, or there's something really big that you're focused on, really something just dramatic that you're about ready to do, and you could go, I could use a little portable push. I could use a little pep talk. I could use a little ring man. I could use someone in my corner, right? I could use a virtual hitchhiker. I could use someone right there in this moment to kind of get me fired up. Well, that's what we're going to provide on Squeegee TV. You got 10 minutes, we're going to go ahead and get you fired up so that in any particular event, when you're going, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm thinking about, you can go to Squeegee TV, it'll play right on your phone, and it kind of, it's like that pre-huddle or the pre-game huddle, right? It's that pep talk that you'll need to help put you in the perfect mindset. Again, Squeegee, take away all the fear, take away all the trepidation, take away all the question about who you ultimately are and what you're ultimately capable of. Squeegee TV will do just that, and we're going to do it in 10-minute chunks to stick with the scheduling that they're talking about over there, that Katzenberg and the rest of the gang is talking about. So if you have any ideas as to some additional segments you would like to see, if I could impose upon you one more time, as I did last evening, to give me some of these ideas about segments, please go ahead, throw them here in the post, or give me a call, 833-462-39. Excuse me. 833-462-3968. Grit to go. I dig it. Lee, thank you very much. I super appreciate that. And what we're going to do, Rita, thank you so much for that. And I thought about you a lot today, Rita, because I also want, and even in the grit to go part, outside of what we're going to do for the world record attempt, right? The 81 to win. I would love it if Squeegee TV could be those things. We talked a little bit last night about PTSD. We talked about, some of the other things that people are up against because they've had a traumatic event in their lives. Well, I'd like Squeegee.tv to be that thing that you could come to right on your phone. And in those moments where you could take a best friend, you could really, really just use a biggest fan. You could use a virtual hitchhiker. You could use someone riding shotgun for you in that particular moment in all of time. That's what I want Squeegee.tv to be. So again, if anyone has any ideas as to things that we might be able to do, and we're going to run that side by side, right? Because we're going to be busy anyways, ramping up for the Guinness World Record attempt in December. So I figured we're going to ramp up. We're going to learn of our 24-hour thing here coming up over Labor Day. And then right alongside of that, we'll be preparing for the 81 to win, the world record attempt, and we're also going to be working on Squeegee TV. So if you have any other suggestions or things you go, you know what, that's pretty cool. Did you ever think about this? Chances are pretty good I didn't, right? So, but I'm pretty sure you'll think of some really cool ideas that we could add to that. And it would be great to have your input. And as I said last evening, I like the idea of everyone here in the thread of all the different people. I think they said since the beginning of the week, we're up 16 or 17 likes over on Facebook. I like the idea of thousands of people being the co-producers, right? Where everyone's fingerprints can be all over this, and we can try to make an impact by simply, using the moniker, Go Be You. Right? We talk about that all the time. That's what I would love to have happen for both of these events, the Squeegee.tv and the run-up to the Guinness World Record attempt in December of this year, is that everyone gets a say into how we're going to do it. Everyone gets a say into what's going to go on as we prepare for both of those. And who knows? I have to tell you, I dig the concept of everyone being involved so that everyone gets a byline, everyone gets a shot at the record, right? Everyone's going to be helping me do it. So I don't know how it is when you win, as we will, when you win the world's record, how many different people you can mark down or how many bylines you can give, but it's my intent to give a byline to everyone. So we're still identifying. Good evening, Sarah. Thank you so very much for watching us, hanging out with us here at All Natural Being. We're identifying the different people that will be calling in. So, you know what? Obviously, Transitional Radio and my good friend Henry Noel, he'll be calling in, and Transitional Radio is one of the sponsors. Lee Rowley is another one from Sales Copy Academy. He'll be calling in. He'll be one of my pacers as well. The good guys over at tryh2.com, Stephen and Gordon, right? They're busy with all the potions, all the different things I eat and drink to, that will help me prepare to stay up that long. They'll be calling in as well. But I would love it if you know of someone and they're trying to launch a brand. If you know of someone that says, oh yeah, I could use a little bit of airtime. I'd like to be interviewed about what I'm doing. We would love to have them interviewed in this segment. And, kind of like a little bit of a payback. I was talking to the good folks at True Fruit today, and what I call a True Fruit thank you. This new, I talked about it earlier last year, but this new chocolate-covered candy, premium chocolate, real fruit, freeze-dried, real fruit, right? Real stuff. You look at the ingredient list, there's like 4 things: the fruit, the chocolate, right? When you look at some of these other companies, and there's like 80 things on the ingredient list. But what I'm going to do for True Fruit is we're going to have the True Fruit thank yous. So for everyone that calls in, for the first run, we're going to have, I think we said 44 different people will be calling in, and then there'll be a True Fruit thank you. So I'll be able to send out a little package of your favorite fruit and chocolate and that kind of thing. And that'll be going out to the people that help. So a little bit of pandering for hundreds and hundreds of executive co-producers as we get ready to do this. All right, the phone lines are open tonight, 833-GO-BU, 833-462-3968. Enough about what we're planning, enough about what we're doing. What I wanted to talk about this evening is the actual, what it takes to put your heart's highest priority top of your list. Now, one of the things that was clear to me, one of the things that was most important after the surgeries and the like is that, a lot of people were going to look at me and go, yeah, that's just insane. And I go, whoa, yeah. And we thought about the toll-free numbers. We were going to have Be Crazy. We were going to have, all these different things that we could do. Thank you, Henry, very much. all these different things that we could do in terms of the 800 number. And then we settled on Go Be You, because ultimately what we're doing, when we talk about Mortal Up, when we talk about You're Wild at the Core, when we talk about all these other things, we're basically talking, right? When we talk about squeegee TV, removing the opaque, removing the philosophical baggage, right? Removing all the static quo of the marketplace so that what's left is You're Wild at the Core. What's left is the real you minus all of the mashugana. So when we talk about that, good evening, Shane. Thank you for joining us here at All Natural Being. We're talking about that. It's what you can specifically do. And what we've learned, right, through all of this is that you take it in I love the term baby steps from that movie, What About Bob, with Richard Dreyfuss and, oh, help me. Yeah, here comes the amnesia. The guy from Stripes, Bill Murray, right? What About Bob? And he talked about baby steps. What we can do in these 20-minute victories, 1/72 of your day is, what crazy idea do you have? What crazy idea? Right now you might be going, well, Brian, never thought about going for a world record in radio, never thought about creating a television station that's going to rival some of the biggest studios in Los Angeles. Never thought about that, but you might have something equally as crazy. What is that idea? The idea that you thought, oh, it was just too nuts. I can't say this out loud. What is that idea that you think is so crazy that if you invested 1/72 of your day, 1/72 of your day, you could go, oh, wow, I could do A, or I could do B, or I could do C. Because here's what we're finding out now, the philosophy, the psychology, if you want to break it all down. What we're finding out is when you chunk something down, when you do it in little baby steps, when you do it in such a way that your ego goes, you can't get in that much trouble. She can't derail herself that much if it's only 20 minutes, 1/72 of your day. Your ego tends to calm down a bit, right? You know, you've heard the term throw the baby out with the bathwater. But what we would look to do is say, with these 20-minute victories, this 1/72 of your day, if you were going to be crazy, and you knew, right, you had 71 other chunks in your day to not be crazy, what would you do if you could put your heart's highest priority top of your list? What would you do? What would you achieve? What would you become? What would you lose, maybe, is a more important question. 833-462-3968, 833-462-3968, or Go Be You. Give us a call. Let us know what you're thinking about. If you could put your heart's highest priority top of the list, what would that priority be? If you're hearing the thread and you go, oh, you know what I think would be pretty cool? I'd like to do this, or I'd like to do that. What would it be? If you could get your grit, your wild at the core, your all-natural being, if you could get your personal grit to go, what would you do? And again, knowing that you have the fallback of the rest of your day. For 20 minutes, what would you do to put your heart's highest priority top of your list? What would you do to place your primal scream, the ultimate wit and wisdom of your inner whisper? What would you do to put that front and center in your mind's eye, in your inner ear? What would you do? 833-462-3968, 833-GO-BE-YOU. And the nice thing about this is it dovetails perfectly for me, because that's what the radio show and the TV show will be all about. It's about encouraging people to go be themselves, to not to get caught up, right? That inner genius. And I think now is as good a time as any. I was kicking it around with Henry the other day, but, you know, when you study, and Big Bang or Big Breath, right? Garden of Eden, the savannas of Africa, right? The pulpit or the petri dish, whatever you want, lab coat or white robes, whatever you want. You get to the point where, all right, let's take this quick. Let me say hello to Shane real quick. The path to success is deciding to take that first step and try. Thank you, Shane, very much. I absolutely agree. And that first step, we're saying, could very well be just that. All right, we're going to go ahead. Let me see. We can take a quick call here. Good evening. Welcome to All Natural Being. Who's this?
Hi, Brian. This is Henry.
Henry, how you feeling, brother?
Doing good, brother. Doing good. Was holding back just a bit tonight. I just was hoping someone else would be calling in, and that's what I was just waiting for. See if we can get some other people. I mean, you were just talking about, taking 1/22nd, 1/22nd of your life, and what would you do to bring up your all natural being? Well, hey, call in.
Call in.
There's the first step. Get yourself into that uncomfortable zone, and take a chance. And when you get done talking, you find out, hey, I'm still alive. I still feel good. And let's just do it. So
right. And Henry, I'll say you won. You realize, it's not going to kill me. Right? I did it. I was able to do it. I'm still alive. And I should mention, Henry, just like the people that have called in already since we started this, and even Kelly, when you were here in the studio, and Kelly was here, she goes, it wasn't all that bad at all. I should let people know we have a second phone line. So if you'd like to call in, you don't want to talk to me. I get that. But you may want to call in and talk to Henry. You can call in right now, 833-462-3968. Maybe there's, Henry, you have a long-lost friend, anyone that want to call, excuse me. Anyone that would want to call and say hello, they're welcome to call in, 833-GO-BU. I want to say hello to Richard. Good evening. Thank you for watching and joining us here on All Natural Being. So, Henry, what do you think of this idea? I know I put you on the spot last night when I said, here's what we're going to do with our world record attempt. And then what do you think of, because I have to tell you, the things that you said to me and the things that Rita said last night in the thread, some of the things from other people that joined us in the thread, it made me think, if we could do this squeegee.tv in such a way that when people are feeling either their most vulnerable or when people are feeling the greatest need for a little push. What was it? Guy Apollinaire had one of my favorite quotes of all time. He said, come to the edge, he said. They said, no, we are afraid. Come to the edge, he said. They said, no. Come to the edge, he said. They came. He pushed them, and they flew. So for me, Henry, when we started talking about this, Squeegee TV is that little bit of shove, that little bit of a push that will cause people in that particular moment and all of time to tune in and go, that was exactly the message I needed to hear. And I thank you and Rita, as I said, Shane and some other people that have helped me come up with that idea. But what do you think of this concept of Squeegee TV and going after some of the big boys?
My whole focus has been to try to get the message out for people to be themselves and what they need to do to find their all-natural being. I mean, we were born with it, and we've just done everything we can in our lives to cover it all up. And granted, a lot of it's not our fault in that it's a lot of it's the way we were raised, it's how we were taught, it's our learning, it's what all of these things that have been put out there for us to separate ourselves from each other. And I'm just trying to pull us all back together. I believe we're in, as I've said before, we are part of the human race. That is the only real race that is out there. All of this other stuff that we call races, I think, is a crock. And all I want to do is pull people back together. We find enough reasons, and we're given through news and media and advertising and the government and churches, we are given all these reasons to not be together and to separate ourselves. And all I want to do is see us come back together. And so yes, I love the idea, Squeegee TV. Anything that can get one person to step into their uncomfortable zone,
sure,
and take a good solid look at themselves and make themselves one step further to finding out just how happy they actually are if they just simply removed all that unhappiness that they have.
And as Shane just said a little bit ago, the path to success is deciding to take that first step, right? And then try. And again, I always joke, I don't want to go all Star Wars, do or do not. There, Yoda in Star Wars talking to Luke, do or do not. There is no try. But to throw yourself into it, to feel, my good friend Lee, who was on the thread at least earlier, when you talk about the headwinds that are modern copywriting today, right? Where everyone goes, I'll just throw some words together. I'll just do this or do that. But when you face that kind of headwind, as Lee does day in and day out, is one of the premier copywriters in the world. When you face those headwinds, he does it with a smile on his face. You watch him and he's just being barraged by all these other types of things that could be clamoring for his attention. But he loves being in the mix. He loves being in the arena. He loves it. Now, what's the quote from Roosevelt? With dirt on your face. And I think that's what Shane's trying to say, Henry. That's what you are always saying to me, is that get in, mix it up, square your shoulders, let fate try to chop block you, right? But it's up to us as human beings, as I like to think, homo ingenious, right? When I look at human beings and I go, there are two classifications in my mind, human gettings and homo ingenious, people that are constantly looking outside of themselves for their all-natural being, and homo ingenious that goes, I'm just going to out-brutal the brutal. So for me, whenever you say, Henry said, when you say the human race, I still have to, in my mind, go, there are some people that just aren't going to get the message of transitional radio. God love them. That's what they're going to do or what they're not going to do. But for the homo ingenious, for the person that says, I'm going to take everything that comes at me in this particular moment in all of time, and I'm going to evolve with this particular moment. Go ahead and give us a call, 833-462-3968. 833-GO-BE-YOU.
Yep.
Give us a call.
No, I totally get you, Brian. You're absolutely right. You think about. I keep referring to the human race. If there wasn't one member of the human race who decided to step out of the cave and take a chance, we'd still be there.
Sure. And I think what happens is everyone's waiting for someone else to step out, right?
Yes.
Everyone else is waiting for someone else to step out of the cave. Well, they're the ones then that get all the glory, so to speak. They're the ones, when you put your heart's highest priority, top of your list, I think, Henry, that the universe dovetails. When the universe sees one of us going, oh, you know what? It's time for me to put my primal scream front and center in my life. I think Carl Jung called it synchronicity. Maybe it's epiphany. Any of these other things that happen, all the happenstance, the chance. I think the universe goes, oh, she gets it. Let's do it. Or, oh, yeah, he's on top. All right, let's go ahead and take another call. Henry, can you hold 1 second?
Oh, absolutely beautiful. Good.
Good evening. Welcome to All Natural Being. Who's this? Hello. Good evening. Are you with us? All right. I think I got everything done just about right here. Thank you for joining us here at All Natural Being. All right, Henry, we'll wait and see if that person calls back again, 833-462-3968. If you get a chance, give us a call back. Have a chance to hang out with Henry Noel.
Oh, that got me excited.
I know. There's two calls coming at the same time. Well, that's an example. Here we go. We'll be testing what's going to happen here at the end of the month and then later this year. Hold on 1 second. Good evening. Thank you for joining us here at All Natural Being. Who do we have?
Hi, this is Shane.
Hey, Shane. How are you? You're on with Henry Noel. You two may know each other.
Yeah. So I wanted to share. Are you still there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I just wanted to share. You were talking about, come to the edge and come to the edge and come to the edge, and you finally went off and they flew. My own personal experience with martial arts. When I was a kid, my father decided that at 6'3" and maybe 100 pounds, I needed something to defend myself going into high school, and it was decided to send me off to martial arts. And I remember him dragging me to my very first class, pretty much kicking and screaming the whole time. I was scared to death, did not want to do it. But after that first class, I discovered something in myself that I didn't know I possessed. And it wasn't about, hey, I'm learning to beat up people or anything like that. I was finding new confidence in myself. And and ever since then, I've done more martial arts and Eastern philosophy, and it really changed my life. It's just one of those things, like you say, at some point you've got to take the leap and get outside of your comfort zone. You never know what you're going to find.
And then, Shane, if I could ask you, have there been other examples in your life other than martial arts where you go, oh, I'm going to look at this challenge the same way as I did as that little boy that went kicking and screaming? Has it morphed into other areas of your life, not just the physical ability to defend yourself?
Well, I think probably making the decision to join the military.
Okay.
As a young 20-year-old, this was at a time when Desert Storm was starting to wind down.
Okay.
But, it was still something that was in the media and in the forefront of people's minds. And here I was ready to throw myself into that fray. But, it turned out great. I learned a great skill. I met my wife when I was in the military. You never know what's going to happen on the other side unless you just jump in and give it a go.
Henry, what do you have to say about that in terms of, as Shane called it, the confidence, right? To be able to square
Absolutely.
fate in the face and go, let's go. I'm here to out-brutal the brutal.
That's why we're here. If we don't take the chances, don't take the risks, we don't learn. And that is probably the saddest thing about taking this entire existence that you're in for this all of whatever number of years you have, and not do anything with it, or to just be the mundane, not take the risk to go out there and see just what is out there, what this world has to offer, what people do, what people have to offer. If you don't experience it, there's no growth in you, and so it's really important to go out there and take the risk. There's been so many times I've made decisions in my life that I know at that moment was the wrong decision to make, and I learned from it, and it ended up opening more doors than I ever knew that would happen. So you can't make a wrong decision by getting out there and taking no chance. No matter what you do, you're going to be rewarded for it in one way or another. It may not be immediate, and it certainly may not seem like it at the moment, but you're going to learn more about yourself, and that's probably the biggest gift you can give to yourself.
Shane, would you agree that it's not just what you learn about yourself, but maybe what you unlearn about yourself as well?
Yes.
Would you agree?
Sure, and you may learn something that you went into a situation thinking, okay, if this happens, then this will be a good learning experience for this or for that. But when all is said and done, it could turn out to be something completely different, just as useful, and even more meaningful for your life at that time. You just never know.
Well, Rita says, one thing is for certain, if you do not make the leap, nothing other than atrophy of your all-natural being, nothing is going to happen. And I love, Henry, what Shane says about, you don't always know in the moment. That's why I call every evening when we start with the labyrinth of life, the ups, the downs, the lefts, the rights, the pivots, the swerves. There's all cul-de-sacs, no dead ends, maybe a bunch of blind alleys. But instead of having from point A to point B, the carrot at the end of a stick of a goal, I'm just enamored. I'm just moved by this concept of life being a labyrinth because, as Shane says, yeah, maybe sometimes you get into it for A, but B happens, or C happens, or D led to G, which led to Z, and then led back to H. There's no rhyme nor reason for the way you exercise your potential just this side of infinity.
That's right.
Leave it up to the universe to decide what needs to be learned.
Absolutely agreed. Henry, what would you say?
I absolutely agree. You don't create your path by standing still. And if you think you're on your path and you're out there and you see it way laid out in front of you, then it's not your path. You need to step off the path, and then you create it one step at a time. But if you don't take the step, you don't create your path.
Well, Henry, when you say that, I always think about the quest of the Holy Grail. And he writes about it in the book, or in the myth. He writes about it, he said, and they entered the forest where there was no track nor path, for to follow in the footsteps of another would have only brought them shame. And, and in other parts of the book, he'll say they entered where the way was thickest, or they entered where the way was lost. And I think that's what you and Shane are saying, is that it's not always going to be a clear-cut plan. The universe is going to throw some things into the mix. But when you agree to out-brutal the brutal, no matter what the universe throws at you, if you look at it as a learning and not a setback, right, then you're open to that potential just this side of infinity.
That's exactly right. It's exactly right. It's your perception, and if you don't take the chances, you don't take the steps, you don't see the fun and the enjoyment in taking those risks, then you really are never going to take the road less traveled. You will never make it to there.
And as Rita says, and so what if whatever you were hoping to happen didn't happen? You haven't lost. You still win because you made the attempt. It reminds me of, Carl Sandburg in the poem Hope. It is an echo that calls you yonder, yonder, yonder. So as Rita just says, so what if you didn't get what you were hoping for? You're still in the position to be exercising your potential, to be exercising your all-natural being.
Exactly.
And as Philip, I'd say good evening quickly to Philip here in the thread, and he says, is that all you've got? And Philip, I love that, because that's the question when you think about fate coming, right? And just before you decide to out-brutal the brutal and you're going to square your shoulders, I look at it all the time and say to fate, is that all you got? Is that all, right? Is that all you brought? Let me get this straight. Fate, you brought a brain tumor. That's what you thought was going to derail me. And I'm sure everyone here in the thread has examples where they go, that's all you got? That's what you're going to do to derail me?
And I love that. With what Phil says, the way that is stated is exactly it. That's all you got? You have got to be kidding me.
You got to be kidding me. You should go find someone else to victimize right now, Fate, because you're in for the battle of your life, right? And I know it's a little bit of personification. People can argue, Brian, really? You think fate? Yes, well, I do, right? Remember, you can't spell Brian without the I in insane. So, Shane, what do you think about all that? If you could, as Philip says, you can stand there and say to fate, is that all you got? Probably from your martial arts days. Right. Is that all you got?
Well,
Shane, you still with us? Henry, you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, I think we may have lost Shane. Hopefully he'll call back in. But I love Philip's a question. Is that all you've got? What a great way to put it when it comes to squaring your shoulders with fate. And Shane, if you get a chance to call back in, I hope that the drop call didn't happen here on our end. So Henry, kind of what Shane says, and kind of like with you in terms of the martial arts, right? What it is in that particular moment where you decide just to throw yourself into that moment, that's where the gold was buried.
We look at the world sometimes as a major challenge, and we're afraid to face the challenge on occasions. And I understand that because we're taught to do that. We're taught not to express ourselves. We're taught not to get out there and really take the risk. And yet the best enjoyment I get out of life is taking a risk. I mean, doing what I'm doing now. I mean, this is not me. This is not who I was.
Right.
I just realized that it doesn't kill you to do it. And if you have, maybe it's simply fear, Brian. Maybe people are just afraid to stick their neck out, or they're afraid to open their mouth, or they're afraid they're going to hurt somebody's feelings, or they're afraid they're going to get embarrassed. And maybe it's simply just fear that has just so totally taken over us that we are afraid to simply be ourselves, that we don't know who that is anymore. And part of that fear also is in the uncovering of who we are, if we really want to find out who we are. And that's part of transitional radio, is trying to show people how to strip away all the unhappiness that we've surrounded ourselves with, doing all the things that we hate, the mundane things that we just wish we could change. Well, you can change it. It's just a choice. It's a simple choice to change it. And, and all of a sudden you get back to what you originally were, which is happy.
Happy.
How it works.
Shane, are you back with us now? I should say welcome to All Natural Beings. Is Shane?
Yeah.
Okay, Shane, sorry we lost you there. You were getting ready to comment on, what it is, as Philip said, is that all you've got? Has that been your experience ever since that time in the martial arts when your dad took you kicking and screaming? Has that been your experience that when you face fate and go, really? That's all you brought? That must instill in you even more confidence.
I'll be the first one. I'll be the first one to admit that I still get scared.
Mm-hmm.
But the difference now is that I recognize the fact that I am scared and that I do have the ability to overcome what is in front of me. And it may not be right away,
mm-hmm.
but at some point I do say, is that all you've got?
Right.
Now, I've recentered myself. I've done other things just as hard, and I made it through. I'm still alive. So, okay, bring it. Now I'm ready. It doesn't, I'll be the first to admit it doesn't happen every single time. I still get scared. But I recognize that, and I recognize that I can do it, and at some point I do move forward.
And what I think it's interesting, Shane, is you said in that you center yourself, right? You get to the point where you center yourself and you realize, and I think maybe, Henry, you could jump in on this with Shane, is that I think most people, they don't want to be afraid. And, as you know, Henry, I have young children, and, someone will say to me, oh, I'm afraid of the thunder. And I'll ask, okay, so what are we supposed to do with that? Oh, I don't want to go. I'm not in the mood. So what are we supposed to do with that, right? And I think what happens is people go, oh, I got scared. Okay, so what are we supposed to do with that fear, right? As Shane says, you take it, it's energy, and you use it to move forward in that particular moment in all of time. Henry?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I know Shane has not won every single match he was put up against, and yet you still go back out there for the next one. And it's not when you realize that fear is simply you holding you back.
Right.
Fear tends to take a back seat to life. It really does. When you realize there really is nothing to fear out there. I know people are afraid of dying, or they're afraid of getting hurt, or maybe what I think the best line was, "I'm not afraid of dying. It's just the way."
Right.
It's still a cop out.
Right.
It's still fear. But the bottom line is that if you once you face fear and you understand that fear is simply you not wanting to take the risk and go out there and do this, it's not the fear. It's the fear of simply the unknown.
So Shane, do you think what Henry's saying then is that we at times when we're uncomfortable, we may label it fear. It's we're uncomfortable with the action that needs to be taken, the action at hand. And maybe we get so, I know this is kind of glib, but we get so scared by our fear. Maybe we're just plain uncomfortable, and we don't want, right? We want our comfort zones. We want our safety blankets. We want our bubble wrap to protect ourselves in. Is that what you think Henry's saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I think fear is the easiest label to use when you're put in a situation that you're not comfortable with and you don't know what to do. Fear is just an easy label to use that everybody understands, like to your point, well, I'm scared of the thunder. Okay, what am I supposed to do about that? I'm
right.
scared to go do this situation. Okay, I can't do it for you.
Sure.
At some point, you're going to have to do it. And a lot of that.
Henry, let me just say, it seems like we lost Shane again. Let me just say that Rita says we should just say challenge. That we should just say we're confronted by that challenge. And if challenge makes us uncomfortable, then just admit that we're uncomfortable. It doesn't have to scare us. It doesn't have to make us fearful. It doesn't have to, there's nothing timid about your all-natural being. Henry?
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. I mean, I admire you having gone through the brain tumor. I have a cousin who, in Colorado, who has had the same situation, several aneurysms and many brain surgeries. Is preparing for another one. Just had one and preparing for another one, and losing her eyesight. And yes, at times will she get depressed? Of course she does. It is a human reaction. But I'll tell you, that word challenge that she uses constantly in her feeds, it's another challenge. And
Sure.
she wakes up in the morning, and the first thing she'll post is, "I just want to thank God for waking me up and giving me another attempt to challenge this condition." I mean, my admiration for you all that are going through this stuff. It just is simply breathtaking.
Well, I'll tell you, my friend.
Compliments to you.
Well, thank you so much. But I've said before that how fortunate I was, even with 3 brain surgeries. The guy that went into the original, the guy that went into the operating room alongside of me, 2 people were wheeled in that morning. The guy that went into the emergency room, the surgery room, didn't come out of his 11-hour surgery. He never made it off the table. So it's easy for me to go, oh, it's been really tough, 3 brain surgeries, a shunt, and this and that. But I'm one of the lucky ones. I survived. So I'm always aware of people that have it just a hell of a lot worse than I do. Let me say hello quickly to Loretta. Thank you for watching, Loretta. Shane, did you make it back on?
Yes, sir, I did.
Oh, sorry, Shane. I don't know what's going on with your call, but I want you to go ahead and be able to finish your point about, when we're confronted, as Rita says, let's call them challenges, that when you're confronted with those challenges, it brings out the very best in you.
Sure. And absolutely, challenges probably a better way to put it. But again, nowadays it's just so much easier to put a label on something and shove it off to somebody else, as opposed to looking inside yourself and determining what it is about the situation that you can resolve. Because, nobody is going to do it for you. At some point, you're going to have to face the music, as they say. And whether you put a label on it or not, it's going to come back around. And you just have to gain that courage, center yourself, and move forward and deal with it.
Henry, that's twice now that Shane has said the word centered, which I just dig, right? Because when I talk about your wild at the core, your all-natural being, Shane and I are saying the same thing. You're just centered, wouldn't you say?
Exactly right.
And for someone that isn't accustomed to being centered, to someone that's out of equilibrium, to someone that doesn't understand that homeostasis, we're simply saying that with a 20-minute victory, Philip says in the thread, fear is a mind killer. And then he says he's got company, he's ducking out. So, Philip, thank you so very much for joining us, and enjoy your company this evening. Thank you very much. But, if some of us are out of balance, if we don't have that sense of homeostasis, if, like Shane just says, centered, maybe there are people listening that go, well, I'd like to be centered. So, Henry, right, give us, in terms of transitional radio, what can we do? If it's been a long time since we've been centered, what are some of the things that we can do to start rekindling that feeling of being centered, of personal balance?
Well, I think first is what Philip had said, fear is a mind killer. Fear is a spirit killer. And that spirit is really who you are. And so it tends to really destroy your ability to really deal with things. And then you got to look at it too. It's you and life. And I'm not saying you versus life, but it's you and life. And you can face life on life's terms, or you can face life on your terms.
I like that.
Why not make it your terms? And so, yes, by being centered, you're taking control back. It's your life that you want to deal with, not waiting for life to control you, but you controlling your life.
And then, Shane, when you talk about, you've mentioned it twice now about being centered, and I know because of your history in martial arts, you would say one of the things I would imagine would be your breath. One of the quickest ways to center yourself is to remember your inhale and your exhale. Can you expand on that a little?
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody, watched any kind of martial arts or whatever, they see that that's a big part of it. It's getting into that almost meditative state. But honestly, everybody has their own way of getting centered or getting themselves back together, whether it be breathing or actually sitting down and meditating, or maybe you go for a walk, clear your head, or maybe you put on some music. Everybody's going to have their own different way of becoming centered. It could just be a good memory. It really could be anything. For me, yes, it's breathing. And I think that's one of the things that you touch on your show is finding your center, finding your being. What in your life can bring you back to your center, so you can reevaluate the uncomfortable challenge that you are currently in.
Great.
To move forward. Everybody's
I love it.
I do too, Henry. That was great, Shane. That was very well said.
I love it. Wow.
Let me also say a quick hello to Matt Connerton. Matt, thank you for joining us this evening on All Natural Being. And Dallas, free will and on your own terms. I like that, Dallas. Thank you very much for joining us here at All Natural Being. Well, guys, as I promised, and this is just me in terms of the practice for the 24 hours, that we'll go ahead, almost approaching the top of the hour with just about a minute left. We'll go ahead and restart once we practice this for the end of the month. So we're going to go ahead and hop off now. But Shane, thank you so very much for calling in and spending some time with Henry and I. Henry, thank you so much. I'll let you say farewell to Shane here for a minute, and then we'll get ready to wrap it.
Hey, thank you, Brian, and thanks, Shane. I'm so glad you called in. This is wonderful. It's kind of hard being out there on the line by yourself. So thank you so much. I appreciate the company, and I love the words of wisdom. Man. You nailed it. You nailed it.
And if I could just say something, guys, to you both before you go, for the people that go, "Oh, I couldn't call in. I wouldn't know what to say." Henry, it's true. Henry and Shane make it sound easy. They just know, right? We talk about being centered, but I bet both of them would admit to you that maybe the first time they ever called or thinking about calling, they weren't really sure, but they were centered, they did it, and they nailed the show. So I thank you both for not only all of your input this evening and your input over the last weeks in terms of the things we're going to do here, but thank you for being a role model for people that go, yeah, I think I could have done that. Shane, if you could have seen when Henry was here in the studio and Rita was here and Kelly came in and she just like instantly was, oh man, I could do this. This is great. It was like watching Ed McMahon and Johnny Carson together. So I thank you all. I thank you all for calling in and giving people just an understanding of, oh yeah, look, I know I could hang with Brian, but if I could hang with Henry and Shane, I've got this thing licked. So thank you all both very much for calling in and helping me out. I super appreciate it.
No problem.
Our pleasure.
All right. Good night, guys. Good night, Henry. Good night, Shane.
Good night, sir.
All right. So again, thanks to Henry. Thanks to Shane for calling in and letting us know what you think about. I love Shane's term. He kept going back to being centered. Henry kept talking about being a human being, right? That's what we ultimately are, human beings. And they talked about the things that you could do. One of the things that Shane said that really stuck with me says, maybe you have a great memory, right? We could go through the gymnastics of yoga and we can hang upside down and we can learn breathing and katas and yoga moves. But Shane had a great point. Maybe you just got a great memory. So let me ask you, the next time you're confronted by a situation, right? And what did Rita say earlier? She called it a challenge. Next time you're confronted by a challenge, you could take Shane's advice and go, hey, why not just have a great memory of the last time or maybe sometime in your past when you were confronted by a challenge and you're like, nailed that. Or as Henry said, remember who you ultimately are. Not the fear, not the baggage, not the mashugana. So maybe we can take Henry's advice. Maybe we can take Shane's advice and say, yeah, the next time we're confronted by a challenge, take Rita's advice and go, let's just reformat it to ourselves as a challenge. And we're confronted by a challenge going, that's all, as Philip said, that's all you brought? This isn't a challenge. It's like a speed bump, not even a hurdle. You thought you were bringing a hurdle? It's like a little speed bump in the roadway, and not one that's been put down by the highway department recently, one that's been there for 30 years, right? You can hit that thing at 40 miles an hour. You know, it's barely a speed bump. Maybe that's what the situation is for you. If you look at your challenge, and to Shane's opinion, you just think back to a pleasant memory of the last time you were confronted by a challenge and you came up all aces. Maybe that's another way of being centered. So maybe it isn't always as martial arts, and it isn't always as philosophic, and it isn't always some of these things that, you know, people want to tell you, oh, meditation, you know, it's really tough. Yeah, not really. Oh, enlightenment. You've heard me say this countless times on the show. If you're already here, you're enlightened. So what are we going to do with Squeegee TV? We're going to remove some of that opaque. We're going to remove some of that plaque. We're going to remove some of those things blocking you from seeing the enlightenment that is you. All right, we're going to go ahead. Let me say again, Rita says, every idea and comment is important. Yes, it is, Rita. Thank you very much. Henry Noel, life is worth it. Take the risk. Mr. Noel, thank you very, very much. All right, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Sorry for running a little bit over. Thank you for everyone for joining us here at All Natural Being. We'll be back tomorrow night with some more news about our world record breaking attempt. Also, Squeegee TV will keep you abreast of everything that's going on right here in the show. Thank you so very much for joining us here at All Natural Being.
IPMNation.com.